So welcome to the Chemistry of Air, where we are going to conduct a series of labs with the goal of trying to make sense of the third state of matter. The first two states of matter, of course, are solids and liquids. The third state is gases, or what we might call the stuff that makes up air. So this is our goal, is to make sense of this thing. As you might expect, or at least if you kind of think about it for a second, it's a really elusive thing to try to make sense of. You can't capture gas, you can't like shove it in a bottle, you can't taste it, oftentimes you can't smell it, oftentimes, most times you can't see it. So how can you discern or measure the properties of this thing you can't really contain? So this is the challenge, and you will face these challenges in this short course. One kind of cool thing is that in the history of the chemistry of air, headway was only made after some early chemists were asking questions not about gas and air, but about fire. So this is where we will start. We will study the nature of fire, which means we might have to burn a few things. And out of this, hopefully we can begin to build a better understanding of this third state of matter. In all of our courses, we immerse you in the stories of the scientists who are making progress on the topics that we study, and you will face the same challenges that these scientists struggled with. You may come to different conclusions. That could be okay. Not all scientists in history have come to the right conclusions, whatever that may be. Maybe even everything we're saying right now is off, and we'll come to a better understanding. But anyways, the real kind of goal in terms of your work, your effort, is not to get the right theory, but to partially, or boldly say theories, but backed up by some evidence. So if you can say a theory, whatever it is, that's okay, as long as you have some logic, some evidence, some data, some observations which can back it up. So this is kind of your goal through these courses. So let me begin with our first story of this first lab of this first chapter, and it goes like this. At this point, you can read along on the course platform in section 1A. And so I'm going to take you back to a very specific moment in history. It's May 6th, 1649. There's this young scientist, this young budding scientist. His name is Johann Becher, and it's long after sundown. And he's staying up late, preparing tutoring lessons for tomorrow's clients. You see the business or the money that he earns in his tutoring lessons is the only money that their family makes. His father died last year, so him and his mother are struggling to feed his four younger brothers. And by the way, this is all based in truth. And so his mom is busy baking bread in the kitchen, and that's, by the way, that's going to be the only food that this family is going to get tonight. So they're really struggling. Amidst this struggle, amidst his fatigue, Johann breaks and kind of gets lost in looking at a candle flame. And you may have all experienced this yourself, kind of get lost in the beauty, the heat, the light, the glow of a candle flame, or like a campfire or any type of fire. It's easy just to kind of get lost and captivated looking at fire. And that itself is meaningful, and we'll touch on that. But that itself is interesting. That's just interesting that fire captivates humans so much. But of course, it's played such an important role in our survival, from cooking to heat. It also plays major symbolic roles in most human religions. So anyways, Johann's mesmerized by the candle flame flickering on his desk in their small cottage. And he begins a few questions arise in his mind. And these are the questions that are going to drive his work for the rest of his life, and it's going to drive our work in this course. And the first question that arises, is I'm sure you may have asked this question yourself, is what actually is fire? But the second question is interesting because it lays sort of a concrete foundation from which to study fire. And that question was, where does the stuff go that actually burns? So if you're looking at a candle, the candle shrinks or disappears. Where does the wax go? If you burn a piece of wood, the wood shrivels up or disappears. Where does the wood go? If you burn a piece of paper, where does the paper go? What happens to the paper? So these questions arose in his mind as he was lost kind of staring into the bright glow of that candlelight. So our simple goal is to follow Becher's work in the investigation of fire, and he was probably conducting these experiments in his teenage years. And ultimately, can we come up with our own conception, our own theory of what fire actually is?